Hello there. My name is Denise, and on behalf of my group, we will be discussing cosmetic tail docking in dogs and whether or not it is ethical. In this presentation, we will cover what tail docking is and the step-by-step procedure veterinarians carry out. We will also discuss how tail docking came about, why people choose to dock their dog's tail, the raising concern people have towards tail docking, our group's personal position on this particular matter, and how we intend to spread the word. While the term may be self-explanatory, you may ask yourself, what exactly is tail docking? It is the surgical removal of a portion of a dog's tail, which is done mainly for cosmetic reasons. Tail docking is a procedure that is not done only to dogs, but also to pigs, sheep, cattle, and horses. However, for this presentation, we will solely be discussing cosmetic docking in dogs. Here we have the step-by-step procedure of a tail docking. This procedure is done on puppies that are 5 days old or younger. In this particular procedure, there are 3 2-day-old fox terriers that will be having their tails docked. Next, the veterinarian will shave the tail about 2/3 down from the tip. The length of the dock is dependent on the type of breed. The breeds that most commonly have their tails docked are Spaniels, some Pointers, Weimaraners, Terriers, Poodles, and Dobermans, to name a few. The next step is the cutting of the tail. The veterinarian makes 3 different incisions around the tail. In this procedure, a surgical scalpel is used to cut through the initial layers of skin and tissue, followed by a circular motion until the bone is severed, and the end of the tail is separated from the rest of the tail. Most often, there is no anesthesia given to the pups, but depending on the vet, they may use local blocks. After the vet dabs away any bleeding, there are 2 sutures put into the end of the tail to aid in healing. Sutures are not always necessary in this procedure, and some veterinarians choose to perform this procedure without placing sutures in the tail at all. After the tail dock procedure is done, the puppies are returned to their mother. The sutures will dissolve, or the mother will chew the sutures out, usually before they would need to be removed by a veterinarian at about 12 to 14 days post-operation. Instead of using a scalpel or scissors to remove a portion of the tail, sometimes constricting bands are placed around the tail to reduce blood flow. In a few days' time, a portion of the tail will fall off. Unfortunately, when using constricting bands, major issues can arise when the tail does not fall off in due time. This was one pup out of a litter of 6 that had an issue with constricting bands, who sadly suffered for 2 weeks before being brought in. However, this issue could have been avoided completely by not docking the tail. The history of tail docking is quite extensive as it dates back to the Roman times. Amy Broughton published an article on the controversy of cosmetic surgeries, which covers tail docking and ear cropping. In her article, she states, quote, "Tail docking and ear cropping date to the early Romans, who believed that the practices prevented rabies. Long tail or floppy-eared dogs used for hunting, fighting, or watching flocks were at a greater risk of injury associated with those activities. As such, tails were docked and ears were cropped to reduce the number of places another dog or animal could grab." End quote. Working dogs would often have to navigate through thick underbrush, vegetation, and uneven terrain. Having a docked tail would save them from getting caught and injuring their tail. In 18th century England, all dogs were subject to attacks. However, having a dog with a docked tail would save the owner from having to pay any taxes. Back in the day, any dog that was used for work would have their tails docked and therefore signaled that they were tax exempt. This, in turn, led to the increase in docked tails to help save owners from having to pay extra taxes. It seems to be that the one consistent argument for tail docking is that it is a preventative measure for injuries that may be sustained in working dogs. The American Kennel Club agrees with this and has stated this fact in their statement about the American Veterinary Medical Association's policy on cropping and docking. The AKC insists that the tail docking preserves and defines the character of the breed and enhances good health of the dog by allowing them to safely perform in roles such as Homeland Security and police and military departments. They don't agree with tail docking being labeled as a cosmetic surgery because it leads to the lack of respect for purebred dogs. The American Kennel Club stands true to their policy that tail docking is an acceptable practice. While tail docking was done to save dogs from injuries back in the day, in our modern canines, this procedure is becoming unnecessary. In a peer-review summary prepared by the American Veterinary Medical Association, it is stated that, quote, although tail docking may reduce the risk of tail injury, based on the most current data available, approximately 500 dogs need to be docked to prevent one tail injury, end quote. They are referring to a study done in 2009 in Great Britain, where 52 participating veterinary practices were surveyed to see how many tail injuries were recorded between March 2008 and March 2009. Out of 138,212 dogs, there were 281 tail injuries documented, a mere 0.23%. The cause for the tail injuries were due to injuries inside the house and outdoors, being caught in a door, and reasons that were unknown. While tail docking undoubtedly saves some dogs from injury, overall, the small amount of tail injuries is too low to deem as a necessary procedure. Now that we have established that tail docking for safety is not needed as much in today's society because domestic dog tails just don't get injured as much, let's talk about why people still dock their dogs' tails. Unfortunately, in today's world, tail docking is mainly a cosmetic surgery. The Canadian Kennel Club, which is an organization that provides registry services for purebred dogs. The Canadian Kennel Club also offers their members special discounts and access to resources to help take care of their dogs. However, to be a member, some breeds of dogs must have their tails docked to be regarded as a part of their breed under the gaze of the Kennel Club. In a study done on people's perceptions on breeds with docked tails and cropped ears, it was found that 42% of people believe that dogs were born without tails and with erect ears. Having unnatural standard sets for breeds leads to the common misconceptions that these traits of docked tails and cropped ears are a natural attribute for certain breeds. Why is cosmetic tail docking unethical? This particular procedure is unethical for numerous reasons, as it compromises the health and welfare of the animal for no legitimate reason other than to adhere to breed standards that are set by clubs and breeders. Tail docking is a painful procedure that requires blood vessels, cartilage, nerves, and bones to be severed and is often done without anesthesia. However, the use of anesthesia is up to the veterinarian, so in some cases, local blocks may be used to ease the pain. Some argue that because the puppies are so young, they are not fully developed and cannot feel pain. A study was done on 50 puppies undergoing a tail docking procedure at the University of Queensland Companion Animal Hospital. In this study, it was recorded that all puppies vocalized with intensity in the form of shrieks at the time of amputation. The time it took for the puppies to finally settle down varied, but by 15 minutes after amputation, all puppies had settled down. It is truly clear that puppies can feel the pain of a tail docking, and this alone should be enough reason to halt tail docking for aesthetic reasons. For further confirmation of the pain caused by tail docking, Stanley Coren sheds some light on this controversial topic. Stanley Coren is a psychology professor at the University of British Columbia and is an expert on dog-human interactions. In his book, How Dogs Think: Understanding the Canine Mind, Stanley discusses the various aspects of tail docking, why docking is done, covering the pros and cons, and whether or not puppies feel the pain. He explains why 15 minutes after tail docking, puppies settle down. Breeders often argue this point to support the fact that young puppies don't feel the pain caused by the amputation of their tails. However, these puppies had gone back to suckle from their mother. He states that eating after a traumatic or painful experience will help the puppies cope with the negative exposure. Suckling from their mother offers them sustenance and helps release endorphins, which are a natural painkiller and will help with the pain. It is thought that the suckling puppies could also be a sign that the puppies are still in pain. Unfortunately, pain alone is not the only detriment to dogs who are subjected to having their tails docked for cosmetic purposes. Unfortunately, breeders often perform the tail dockings themselves. In situations like these, the puppies are exposed to an unsterile environment and are in the hands of an untrained person performing a surgical procedure. Tail docking procedures can result in unintended issues, giving the dogs an increased risk of neuromas, which are a mass of nerve tissue, a decline and atrophy of tail and pelvic muscles, which will in turn cause issues with urination and defecation. A dog's tail is a valuable asset in many different ways. Let's discuss the importance that a tail holds for a dog. Dogs use their tail as a form of nonverbal communication to other canines and humans to help us understand what that dog is currently feeling and its attitude towards any given situation. It allows the dog to relay signs of excitement, submission, aggression, dominance, or any other intentions that dog may have. When equipped with a full-length tail, a dog can use it as a counterbalance to help balance when running, climbing, swimming, and other various doggy activities. A study was done at the University of Victoria in British Columbia on the behavioral responses of dogs when they met a remotely controlled dog replica that was fixed with different tail lengths. In the final findings of their study, they concluded, quote, "Our study provides evidence that a longer tail is more effective at conveying different introspective cues, such as those provided by tail motion, than a shorter tail." End quote. Not only does a dog have a higher risk of complications due to a tail docking, but they also lose the ability to display any intentions and may have balance issues. Based on the evidence from various studies, we believe that tail docking for cosmetic reasons is unethical. While there may have been some benefits to docking a dog's tail, there is not enough concrete evidence that supports tail docking. There are long-lasting ramifications in a dog's quality of life, and the risks of tail docking far outweigh the benefits of tail docking. The information we have collected on tail docking will be shared with all of our classmates, friends, family, and anyone who has questions on this procedure. Our presentation will educate them on this welfare issue, and once we start our careers, this information will be beneficial to educate clients that are considering tail docking their dog. Giving them the facts about the procedure as well as the potential side effects will enable them to make an informed decision. In the past, tail docking was believed to have helped decrease the likelihood of tail injury in working dogs when they are herding, hunting, or guarding. Through recent studies, the advantages and disadvantages of tail docking have been made more clear. Studies have shown that the probability of a dog sustaining a tail injury have gone down in domestic animals. Unfortunately, tail docking is still a procedure that is done mostly by breeders and some veterinarians. With the growing information from more recent studies, it has been shown that tail docking for cosmetic reasons is unnecessary and should be avoided. The surgery itself causes severe discomfort for the animal and may result in harsh complications, including infection, nerve damage, loss of communication, and problems with urination and defecation. Along with these complications, a dog is exposed to negative and traumatic experiences that don't seem necessary in today's world. Some may argue that tail docking is necessary to maintain the breed standard or for the safety of dogs under certain working conditions. We believe this argument does not stand up, and we believe cosmetic tail docking is an unethical, outdated procedure and should not be done to our canine companions.